Visit to Mom turned heartwarming. She discovered 3 life-changing secrets hidden in her husband's. On a sunny Saturday, the scent of fresh cookies wafted through Sarah's house, mingling with the sounds of her 2 children laughing in the living room. Today was supposed to be just another pleasant visit to her mom, Annie, a chance to reminisce and catch up. But as Sarah stepped into her mother's cozy home, with her heart swelling with nostalgia, she felt a stirring that whispered of profound change. Little did she know that today's gathering would peel back layers of her identity, and the revelations she would uncover would shake her to the core. "Come on, Sarah, let's see what's in the attic." Annie's voice, bright and inviting, pulled her from thoughts of the bustling life she led as a nurse and mother. They climbed the creaky steps together, laughter punctuating the air as they navigated through boxes marked with years of family history. Dust danced in the sunlight, revealing almost forgotten stories. With each item they uncovered, from old dolls to yellowed photograph albums, memories flooded back, weekends spent gardening, holidays filled with chaos and joy. It felt like walking through a time machine. Then, amid the clutter, Sarah spotted 3 envelopes, untouched and pristine among the dusty relics. Her breath hitched as she realized they were letters from her father, a Vietnam War veteran who had passed before she could know him as an adult. She hesitated, feeling the weight of history rest in her hands. Curiosity won over, and as she tore open the first letter, the ink flowed with her father's carefully crafted dreams, vivid and alive. Each word dripped with longing and sacrifice, revealing a side of him she had never known. Heart-pounding, she read on, each letter unraveling the pain of choices made and the love he had tucked away. These were not just letters. They were pieces of the man who fought for family and yet battled his own demons. As tears rolled down her cheeks, Sarah found herself questioning everything. Her relentless pursuit of being the perfect mother. The choices that led her to work long hours, often sacrificing time for her own children. What legacy was she building? That evening, the kitchen buzzed with the laughter of her children, but the atmosphere shifted when Mark, her husband, entered. "You've been awfully quiet tonight," he remarked, sensing the weight in the air. As she began to share her discoveries, the conversation grew tense. Mark's face clouded as he revealed his own struggles, a family history steeped in prejudice against veterans. Sarah's heart sank, feeling the divided ground beneath them. Her voice trembled as she defended her father's legacy, but Mark felt sidelined, echoing unhealed wounds of his own. "Do you even see what this means for us?" he asked, hurt evident in his tone. They found themselves in an emotional tug-of-war, a struggle of understanding against the backdrop of familial loyalty. The clock ticked on, heavy silence punctuating their exchange. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Sarah stood at the intersection of family ties and personal truths, the letters weighing more heavily than ever. She wanted to bridge the gap but felt her heart yearning for understanding on both sides. Would she choose to honor her father's sacrifices while nurturing her husband's pain? The room was thick with unresolved emotions, clamoring for a resolution that felt just out of reach. Standing at this precipice, Sarah feared that the past might overshadow their future. Where would they go from here? The following morning dawned with a heavy silence in the house. The sunlight streamed in, illuminating the dust motes that danced lazily in the air, but the warmth outside stood in stark contrast to the chill that lingered between Sarah and Mark. As she quietly brewed coffee in the kitchen, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts, she couldn't shake the feeling that walls were slowly creeping up around them. Mark emerged from the bedroom, his expression still clouded. He trudged to the kitchen, poured himself a cup of coffee, and took a seat at the table without a word. The tension wrapped around them like a thick fog, suffocating any attempt at casual conversation. The children played in the living room, blissfully unaware of the storm rumbling beneath their parents' surface. "Mark!" Sarah finally broke the silence, her voice soft yet steady. "Can we talk about last night? I don't want this to come between us." He looked up, skepticism written all over his face. "What is there to talk about, Sarah? You found some letters and suddenly everything changes? You expect me to just accept this new version of your father?" She sighed deeply, feeling the weight of her dad's words press down on her like chains. "It's not about changing who he was. It's about understanding why he made certain choices. He loved us. That love wasn't perfect, but it was real. Just like ours. But does that love erase the things he did? That history?" Mark shot back, a flash of anger colorizing his tone. "You don't know what it was like for my family. We lived in fear of men like your father. You don't get to choose what part of the past to embrace, Sarah." The walls of their home seemed to tighten as if mirroring the emotional struggling within. Tears pricked her eyes as she felt her world tilting dangerously. "And what about my past? Is that a burden I have to carry alone?" Silence loomed again, punctuated only by the laughter of their children in the background. Her heart ached to hear their innocent mirth, moments she feared might slip away if they lost their connection. She drew a shaky breath, feeling a need for change, a need to unite the fragmented pieces of both of their histories. "Let's do this together, Mark," she pleaded, her voice quaking with vulnerability. "I want to explore our family's histories. Together. Learn where our stories intersect, and how we can heal those divides." "How can you be so sure there's a path through this?" he asked, his voice softer now, the anger retreating but not the pain. "Because love is about understanding and forgiveness. It's about growth," she replied earnestly. "Let's honor both our families. Let's learn and bridge the gap. I want you by my side." Mark's jaw tightened as he contemplated her words, vulnerability flickering in his eyes. Sarah held her breath, waiting for the storm to pass. Could they find common ground amidst the scattered fragments of their shared lives? "Maybe," he began cautiously. "Maybe we can try, but it won't be easy." "Nothing worthwhile ever is," she assured him, hopeful. As they held each other's gaze, a delicate sense of understanding hung between them, like a promise waiting to be written. But just when Sarah felt like they were uncovering a path forward, the shrill ring of her phone pierced the air. She glanced at the screen and her heart dropped. It was her mother. "Mom, is everything all right?" she answered, a sense of urgency flooding her voice. "Sarah, we need to talk. It's about your father." The curiosity hung heavily in the air, thick with unspoken revelations. What more could her mother possibly share? Would it deepen their rift, or could it lead to a new understanding? "Mom, what's going on?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling slightly as she locked eyes with Mark. The shift in energy was palpable. "Can we meet? It's better to talk in person," her mother replied, the urgency unmistakable. "Sure, I'll be there soon," she managed to say before hanging up, the weight of her mother's tone lingering like a fog. "Where are you going?" Mark asked, a hint of concern in his voice. She looked at him, her heart racing. "My mom needs to talk to me. I think she's got more to say about, well, everything." He nodded, uncertainty reflecting in his gaze. "Do you want me to come with you?" She felt a mix of emotions, an urge to go it alone, but also a desire for his support. "No, I think this is something I need to do by myself right now," she replied softly. "But I'll call you as soon as I can." As Sarah drove to her childhood home, the familiar roads twisted in her mind, each bend stirring memories. The trees lining the streets felt like old friends, watching her return to a place filled with comfort, but also complications. Her father's absence weighed heavily, like a shadow trailing her every thought. Arriving at her mother's house, she stepped inside to find her mother seated in the den, an old album spread open on her lap. The room smelled of freshly baked cookies, a comforting aroma that washed over her, almost guiding her back to simpler times. But as Sarah sat down, that very comfort turned into an ominous tension. "Mom, what did you want to tell me?" Her mother looked up, eyes lined with worry, and something Sarah couldn't quite place. Fear? Regret? "I didn't want to burden you after we lost your dad, but there are things you don't know about him, things that might help you understand." The air crackled with unspoken words. What do you mean? I found these letters about a year ago, her mother continued, taking a deep breath. They were addressed to your father from a woman named Clara. Clara. The name sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. Who is she? Was she? Her mother nodded slowly. Yes, she was someone very important to him. They had a relationship I never understood until now. Sarah's heart sank. It felt like digging into a wound that had only just begun to heal. What did the letters say? She pressed, barely able to breathe. They spoke of love, of dreams and regrets, but also about choices. Your father was torn between two lives. Tears filled Sarah's eyes. Could her father's choices truly be reconciled in this fragmented tale? Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I wanted to protect you. I thought it would hurt more to know, her mother replied, her voice tinged with sorrow. But keeping it from you has only made it harder. As Sarah absorbed the reality of her father's past, fragments of understanding began piecing together in her mind. So he loved us. But why didn't he choose to leave that part behind? Her mother placed a hand over Sarah's. I think he felt trapped between who he was and who he wanted to be. And that's something we all struggle with. Sarah's heart raced even faster. Mark's reaction to her father's history now loomed large. How could she bring this news to him? Would it tear them apart again? With a deep breath, she looked her mother in the eyes. There's more, isn't there? Her mother hesitated, then spoke. There's one last secret. Something that connects you and Clara in ways you can't imagine. As Sarah's pulse quickened, she braced for yet another revelation about her father. Something that could change everything once more. What is it? She asked, heart pounding. Her mother leaned forward, voice barely a whisper. You need to see the last letter he wrote to her. And just like that, vulnerability turned to suspense. What had her father written that would change her understanding forever? Would it lead her closer to peace or deeper into conflict? The silence stretched between them, thick with anticipation. Sarah felt the room shrink. Only her mother's hesitant breath and the distant sound of a clock ticking through the ache of her heart filling the air. Can you get it? Sarah urged, her voice barely above a whisper as hope mixed with anxiety surged through her. The mention of that last letter felt like a door ready to swing wide open. With a heavy nod, her mother moved toward a small desk in the corner of the room. She opened a drawer and rummaged through papers gathering dust like forgotten memories. A moment later, she emerged clutching a neatly folded envelope, the edges worn but the seal still intact. Here it is, her mother said softly, placing the letter carefully in Sarah's trembling hands. It's hard to read, but it's important. Heat radiated from the envelope as Sarah traced the familiar handwriting on the front. Her father's script held a warmth that made her stomach flutter, both comforting and disorienting. She opened it, eyes scanning the page quickly, desperately searching for the truth trapped within the words. As each line unfolded, Sarah felt an emotional wave wash over her. Her father's words were a tapestry of love, longing, and regret. He poured out his soul, revealing a side that had remained hidden while he was alive. My dearest Clara, she read aloud, barely able to contain the tremor in her voice. Every day I wake up, it feels like I'm living a lie. But I can't break my promises, especially to Sarah and you. Yet, the memories we share haunt me. You made me feel alive, a feeling that slips further from my grasp with each passing day. Her mother's eyes glimmered with tears, and Sarah felt her heart crack open wider. The man she thought she knew now painted himself as someone conflicted and lost. Wait, there's more, Sarah said, consumed by the letter's bittersweet revelations. He writes about meeting Clara again, if only to find closure. He feared losing her forever, felt like he had to choose between two worlds. Your father struggled with this for years, her mother whispered, voice thick. He wanted to honor his commitment to our family, but the connection he had with Clara never truly faded. It felt like a heavy shroud lifting, but what then? What did that mean for her? For Mark? So he was torn, Sarah said evenly, her eyes still on the letter. He loved us, but part of him was always with her. Sarah, her mother's voice wavered, leaning into the heart of the matter. You must understand how profoundly this affects you too. Something shifted within Sarah. Everything was starting to blend together. The words of her father, the echoes of her mother's pain, and the weight of her own choices. How? In what way? Her mother hesitated. You and Clara share a connection more significant than you can imagine, something that could reshape how we see our family. An unsettling realization snaked its way through Sarah's thoughts. The contours of her life were about to shift yet again. She could feel it deep within her bones. What does that mean for me? For my future? Her mother swallowed hard, the rawness of the moment thickening with tension. You might not be like what you think. It could open up a path you never expected. The walls around Sarah suddenly felt claustrophobic, the entire room pulsing with unspoken revelations. I need to think. I just need to understand what this means. Her heart raced as she folded the letter back into the envelope, thoughts tumbling over themselves. Would facing this new reality drive her further from Mark? And what if Clara was intertwined with her destiny in ways she couldn't yet fathom? The storm inside her churned with urgency, leaving her wondering what new narrative lay ahead. The moment rolled into stillness, yet questions hovered, demanding to be answered. What truly connected her to Clara? And would she be strong enough to face it with honesty? One thought remained. She had to find out what linked her heart to the woman her father adored, even across the dividing lines of grief and unfulfilled dreams. With a newfound resolve, she looked at her mother. I want to meet Clara. The air vibrated with tension. Would that be the key to understanding her father's heart and her own? Sarah's determination saturated the air, thickening the tension. As her mother's gaze locked onto hers, there was an urgency paired with an unmistakable fear. Are you sure about this? Her mother asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if raising it too high might shatter the fragile hope they were clinging to. I have to know, Sarah replied, the conviction behind her words wavering. It felt surreal, wanting to meet a woman she had only known through echoes and fragments of memories. Clara represented so much more than just her father's old love. She was a puzzle piece that could unveil answers Sarah desperately needed. Her mother took a deep breath, the kind that spoke volumes. I'll help you find her, she said finally, her voice stronger now. She retrieved her phone from her pocket, her fingers hesitating over the screen like they were stepping into a deep dive. But we need to be ready for whatever comes next. The thought of plunging into the unknown thrilled and terrified Sarah. She shifted in her seat, feeling the weight of expectation bearing down on her. What if she doesn't want to see me? What if she doesn't even remember my father? Her mother winced at the words, a flash of hurt flickering in her eyes. You're his daughter, Sarah. That's something. The words hung between them, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. It was true. Despite their tumultuous past, this connection felt stronger than blood or fidelity. It was a shared piece of history. Okay, Sarah said after a moment with a hesitant nod. Let's do this. With her mother's help, they began piecing together how to locate Clara. While her mother searched online, Sarah's thoughts roamed wild. She couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to meet the woman who had unknowingly filled her father's heart with color. Would Clara share stories, laugh, cry, or would she resent the intrusion? Each conceivable scenario twisted in Sarah's gut. She thought about Mark, his face lined with love and curiosity whenever he talked about family. Would he understand her need to seek this connection? Would he stick by her when old memories stirred unease? Or would he see her as the daughter of a man torn between two lives? Fingers trembling, she texted Mark, words spilling out in a rush. Need to talk about something important. Can you come over? Then, taking a deep breath, she turned back to her mother, who was searching through old emails and archives. I found a possible address, her mother said moments later, excitement and dread dancing in her eyes. It's not far from here, but it might take some time. Why? The one word escaped Sarah as if the air had been knocked out of her. It says here Clara moved to a different town a few hours away. But we can go. I need to talk to her too, her mother replied, her voice softening as the scope of what their journey could mean settled in. Sarah's heart beat faster. We should go soon then. I mean, If she's open, we might unlock so many questions. The thought of extending her family tree further than she ever imagined sent tingles down her spine. Her mother nodded. You should be prepared, though. It isn't just about curiosity, it's about confronting the past. If she shares anything, it could change how you see your father, or even yourself. Each word resonated deeply, sending ripples through Sarah's mind. What if the truth Clara revealed illuminated shadows Sarah hadn't considered? What if it shattered her foundation, leaving her fractured and shaken? Let's plan it. I need to meet her before everything changes, Sarah said, a knot tightening in her stomach. The gravity of the moment encompassed them, leaving an electric charge in the air. As they began drafting plans, excitement tinged with anxiety, the door creaked softly. Mark appeared, his shadow casting across the room. He smiled, but the warmth faded when he caught the serious expressions on their faces. What's going on? He asked, sensing the tension that lingered. Sarah caught her breath. The moment to share her decision had arrived, and with a fierce intensity beating in her chest, she knew it wouldn't just alter her world, but potentially reshape their lives together. I need to tell you something important, Mark. It's about my father, and a woman named Clara. The weight of her words loomed over them, pregnant with possibility. Would he be ready for the journey that lay ahead? Mark's expression shifted, curiosity mingled with concern. Clara? As in your father's old love? His voice trembled slightly, an echo of the shock that gripped the room. Sarah nodded, heart pounding in her chest. The truth that had been coiling inside her was finally unfurling, and yet the look in Mark's eyes made her hesitate. I need to meet her. My mom and I found her address. He took a step closer, his features softening as he studied her face. Is that what you really want? What if she doesn't want to see you? Or worse, what if she's not who you thought she would be? Exactly, Sarah replied, the rush of emotions making her voice unsteady. But I have to know, for me, for my father. She paused, searching for the right words. I just want to understand who he was, who I am because of him. Mark took a deep breath, letting the silence stretch between them. Sarah could see the conflict on his face. Did he see this as a threat to what they had shared? Because she certainly didn't. This was about clarity, not chaos. I'll support you, you know that, he finally said, his voice steady. Just be careful. Memories can be tricky. They may not always align with what we want to believe. Her heart swelled with gratitude. Thanks, Mark. I really need you by my side for this. It means a lot. Of course, he said, a reassuring smile returning. When are you thinking of going? Soon. Maybe tomorrow. Sarah's courage surged. She needed to confront this part of her life, ready or not. Mark's brow furrowed in concern. Tomorrow? That's fast. Are you sure you're ready? More than ever, Sarah said, swallowing back the lump in her throat. It's now or never. I've waited too long to find out who Clara is, and what she knows about my father. Mark nodded slowly, his eyes thoughtful. Okay, then I'll come with you. You won't be alone. A wave of relief washed over her. They would take this journey together, two explorers heading into the unknown. The strength of his presence settled her racing heart. Let's get some rest tonight, Sarah suggested, her earlier excitement sparking again. Tomorrow is going to be a lot. Agreed. We can hit the road bright and early. They shared a moment then, a brief silence where the world outside faded into the background, and all Sarah could hear was the rhythm of her heart, the hum of possibility. Later that night, as she lay in bed, thoughts swirled in her mind like a whirlpool. What if Clara revealed secrets? What if she had a different story to tell? Her dreams were a mix of hope and doubt. Flashbacks of her father's laughter intertwined with images of a stranger who held the key to his past. Would she finally feel whole? Or would she be left with more questions than answers? As the sunrise pierced the horizon the next morning, Sarah woke with a jolt. Visions raced in her mind, of Clara's face, of confrontations that might await, of truths that could crack her world open. She quickly shoved aside her doubts, turning the day into fuel for determination. They made quick work of breakfast, Mark's encouraging smiles bolstering her spirits as they loaded up the car. "Ready?" Mark asked, glancing over at her. Sarah took a breath, tossing her hair behind her shoulder. "Ready as I'll ever be." The engine roared to life, each moment buzzing with anticipation. As they pulled away from her childhood home, her heart raced at the thought of Clara waiting ahead. But another part of her was gnawing at the back of her mind. "What happens if she doesn't want to talk?" she whispered. "Then we'll respect her wishes," Mark replied, unwavering. "But at least you'll know. You'll have taken the steps to find out." "Yeah, but what if she feels resentment?" "Exactly what you're feeling. But truth is a powerful thing, Sarah. It can heal, even when it hurts." The road twisted under them, leading to the unknown destination, each mile pulling her closer to the answers she sought. As the landscape outside blurred by in a mosaic of greens and browns, Sarah's heart thrummed with a mix of fear and exhilaration. All she could think was, but what if she is not ready for the truth waiting at the end of their drive? The drive stretched on, the sun climbing higher in the sky as they made their way through the winding back roads. Each turn felt like a step deeper into the unknown. Sarah's stomach fluttered with unease, a dizzy dance of anticipation and dread. Mark's reassuring presence steadied her, but the knots in her stomach were impossible to ignore. "What do you think she'll be like?" Mark asked, pulling her from her thoughts. "I have no idea," Sarah admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if she's so different from what I imagined? Then maybe she'll surprise you. This might not be the fairy tale in your head, but it could still be something good." Sarah nodded but couldn't shake the lingering doubt. Would Clara even want to meet her? Would she be the warm, loving figure she envisioned? Or would she carry bitterness that would cut deeper than any revelation of her past? As they grew closer, she found herself lost in memories of her father. Moments where laughter echoed through their home, where love wrapped them like a thick quilt during winter nights. Yet those memories also held an ache, the gaping hole left by his absence. Would Clara fill that void, or deepen it? They drove through a small town, the type that felt sleepy and timeless. Flowers spilled over porch railings, and children chased each other on the sidewalks. For a moment, an illusion of normalcy washed over Sarah. She could almost forget the weight of the impending encounter. After what felt like hours, they finally reached a modest brick house with a well-tended garden. Clara's home. Sarah's heart raced as they stepped out of the car. "Want me to go with you?" Mark asked, his brow knit with concern. "No, I think I need to do this alone," she replied, despite the tremor in her voice. "But I'll come back out. I promise." Sarah walked to the front door, her footsteps echoing like drumbeats in her ears. She raised her hand, hesitated, then knocked. The sound felt foreign, like a rupture in time. Moments later, the door creaked open, and there she was. Clara, the woman before Sarah, had deep lines etched into her face, evidence of a life lived with both love and pain. Her gray hair framed her face softly, betraying a warmth that cut through the tension hanging thick in the air. "Can I help you?" Clara's voice was cautious, each word measured as if picking them carefully from a fragile assortment. Sarah took a shaky breath. "I'm Sarah. I'm your daughter." The words tumbled out, raw and unrefined, as her heart felt like it was hanging in the balance between fear and hope. Clara's expression shifted. Surprise flickered before something deeper settled in. "My daughter?" she whispered. "After all this time?" A moment passed. It felt like an eternity stretched between them. Sarah could see emotions churning in Clara's eyes, years of unspoken stories and secrets delicately threaded into the silence. "Can I come in?" Sarah asked, feeling her bravado slip. Yes, of course," Clara replied, stepping aside as Sarah crossed the threshold. As Sarah entered the small living room, her senses were overwhelmed. The cozy smell of baked goods, the cozy warmth a home emanates. Pictures scattered on the walls caught her eye. Clara with a younger version of her father, both grinning broadly. "Sit," Clara instructed gently, motioning to the soft couch. They sank into the moment, two souls converging after years of separation. I didn't know you existed, Clara murmured, eyes glistening with unshed tears. I want to know about him. About you, Sarah said, feeling the dam of emotions threaten to spill over. The things my mom couldn't tell me. Clara sighed deeply, and in that moment, Sarah could see the weight of regrets and decisions made fill the room like a heavy fog. You deserve the truth, Sarah. You deserve so much more than I could give you. As Clara began to speak, her voice wavering but determined, Sarah felt a shift within herself. The deep-rooted quest for identity. The battle for knowledge. It was all beginning to unfold with each word Clara offered. But as they talked, Clara's gaze held something else, something Sarah hadn't prepared herself for. A revelation loomed on the horizon, one that could unravel everything she thought she knew. What if I told you there are things about your father that might change how you see him? Clara's voice was steady, but the weight of those words echoed in the air, like thunder rumbling before a storm. Sarah's breath hitched. What could it be? The answers she sought were coming, but at what cost? As a truth plain yet complex teetered on the edge of revelation, a chilling realization settled in Sarah's chest. She was on the verge of uncovering not only her father's past, but the essence of who she was meant to become. The question lingered. Would she be able to embrace the truth when it arrived? Sarah's pulse raced, each beat echoing the weight of Clara's words. The air in the room felt thick with unspoken stories, and she braced herself for whatever was about to unfold. What do you mean? She asked, her voice trembling. What could possibly change how I see him? Clara hesitated, her fingers twisting the hem of her shirt. Your father. He was a complicated man. He loved fiercely, but there are shadows you might not have expected. Her gaze dropped, sadness pooling in her eyes. Sarah leaned forward, desperate to hold on to every word. What kind of shadows? Clara took a deep breath, wrestling with the weight of past regrets. He had dreams, Sarah. Dreams that he felt he had to sacrifice for me, for us. And sometimes... Her voice dropped to a whisper. Sometimes he made choices that hurt people. The room fell silent, the truth settling around them like a heavy curtain. Sarah's mind raced. Choices. What kind of choices? She had come seeking knowledge, and instead felt herself standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to fall into the unknown. He had a close friend, a woman. Clara's voice faltered, and her eyes flicked towards the family photos adorning the walls, moments frozen in time. They had a connection that went beyond friendship. It was a bond he never fully let go of. Sarah blinked, stunned. The image of her father, the man she admired since childhood, cracked and splintered before her eyes. But why? Why didn't he tell me? Why didn't you? Because he loved you, Sarah. He loved the life you built together, and he thought you deserved a better memory of him, Clara replied quietly. He wanted to protect you, but in doing so, he created a bigger lie. Tears stung Sarah's eyes, and she could hardly comprehend the tangled web of love and betrayal. What was her name? The question slipped from her lips, desperate, clinging to the hope of understanding. Her name was Elena, Clara replied softly, the name lingering in the air like a ghost. I met her once. She was kind, but there was a sadness in her. I think he felt responsible for her heartache, even after all those years. It was complicated. Sarah's heart ached at the thought. Her father had always been her hero. The notion of him having a complicated past made her feel untethered. Why didn't you ever tell me this? There were so many reasons. I was scared of shattering what little connection we had left, Clara said, her voice cracking. I thought I was protecting you from the truth. But in reality, I just didn't want to lose you both. Sarah felt a wave of empathy wash over her, mixed with confusion. Did he ever love you? Yes, Clara whispered, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. But it was a different kind of love. A love that deserved to be understood, not buried under layers of shame. The air was heavy as the words sank in. Unraveling this truth felt precious, yet painful, and Sarah sensed she was only at the beginning of a much deeper journey. Clara shifted, her voice steadier now. Sarah, there's more I want to share. I have letters, photos, things he wrote during that time. They might give you clarity, or they might raise more questions. Sarah's breath hitched at the thought of delving into her father's shadowed past. Will it hurt? Maybe. It could. But you deserve to know all sides of who he was. It's part of you. The realization lit up a new path ahead, one where every answer opened a door to another question. I want to know everything, she said, her determination shining through. As she and Clara began to explore the complexities of the past, the air hummed with the weight of secrets unveiled. But a growing uncertainty flickered within Sarah. Would knowing more help her heal, or would it invite new pain? And just as she felt a sense of purpose, Clara stood up, her expression shifting from sorrow to something resembling resolve. There's one more thing about your father. Something that I need to show you. Something that could change everything. Sarah's heart leaped into her throat. What could possibly lay beyond this revelation? A new chapter beckoned, but would it pull her further into darkness, or guide her toward the light she so desperately sought? Clara moved toward a box tucked away in the corner of the room. As she opened it, dust danced in the light filtering through the window, each particle a reminder of the years gone by. The box was filled with old letters, postcards, and photographs, all wrapped tightly with a faded satin ribbon. Sarah's heart raced. This was it. This was her father's world she was about to step into. Is this everything? Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. Clara nodded, her fingers brushing the edges of the items with a mix of reverence and regret. He kept them hidden away, but I always felt they held pieces of him we couldn't see. With trembling hands, Clara started to pull out the letters. Each one looked well worn, like they had been read and reread countless times. Here, Clara said, handing Sarah one that had a familiar handwriting. The loops and swirls were unmistakably his. Sarah opened the letter, the smell of old paper filling her lungs. As she read, chills ran down her spine. Her father spoke of dreams that seemed larger than life, about ambitions he felt he had to set aside. But there were mentions of Elena, too, words dripping with longing and regret. A line stood out. Sometimes the heart can't help but search for the pieces it lost. Tears blurred her vision as she imagined the pain he must have carried. How could he have hidden this from her? Clara watched her with a mix of sadness and empathy. He wrote these letters for a long time. They were a way for him to express feelings he couldn't say out loud, even to me. Sarah glanced at Clara, grappling with a swirl of emotions inside her. Did you read them? Did you ever know? No, Clara admitted, her voice shaky. I found out about them only after he passed. I thought it was too late to bring it up. Time stood still as Sarah processed everything. In this moment she felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and sorrow, all ingredients of grief that churned inside her. Understanding her father still felt so far away. Can I read more? She asked, her voice small but determined. Of course, Clara replied, encouraging, but be careful. Some things might hurt more than others. As Sarah pulled out more letters, she uncovered pieces of her father's life that she never knew existed. Each scrap of paper told a story that twisted her heart in unexpected ways. One letter included a simple drawing of a house. Underneath it a note that read, "This is where I'll build my dreams. With you, Elena. Always with you." The room felt like it was closing in. Was she supposed to mourn the man she thought she knew, or learn to embrace this new image of him? She needed clarity. Clara, she finally spoke, her voice stronger now. Did he ever consider what it would mean to me if I found out? Clara hesitated, her eyes softening with understanding. He was scared, Sarah. He didn't want to hurt you. But in silence, he did even more. Suddenly, amidst the pile of letters, Sarah spotted a faded photograph. She picked it up carefully and her breath caught. It was a picture of her father and Elena, smiling, carefree. They stood in front of a familiar backdrop, her childhood home, the place that had always been a sanctuary. One glance, but so many questions flooded her mind. How often did they meet? What else had she unwittingly inherited in this family tapestry woven of secrets? Clara leaned closer, sensing Sarah's whirlwind of emotions. He thought he was protecting you. He thought if you never knew, you could keep those happy memories intact. But at what cost? Sarah felt the weight of a decision rising within her. She could dive deeper into the shadows or let them lie and keep her father's memory untarnished. Her heart pounded. Somewhere, a line had been crossed, and she wasn't sure where it led. Just then, Sarah's fingers brushed against a sealed letter tucked at the bottom of the box. It felt different, heavier, as if it carried the weight of the world. She hesitated, looking at Clara. What if this is something he wrote for me? Clara nodded slowly, the air thick with anticipation. Should I open it? With a resolute breath, Sarah made her choice. What could be in that letter? Would it lead her toward healing or deeper questions? The moment hung in the air, ripe with uncertainty, as Sarah slowly tore the seal, ready to confront whatever truth lay hidden within. The letter slipped from its envelope like a secret coming to life, and as Sarah unfolded it, a wave of warmth washed over her. This was it. This could be the key that unlocked the door to her father's hidden heart. She began reading, her voice a hushed whisper in the quiet room. My dearest Sarah. Her breath hitched. The words poured out, a tender embrace captured on paper. If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer there to hold your hand or guide you through life. I want you to know that every moment spent with you was my greatest joy. You've been my shining star. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks as she immersed herself in his words. The father she loved was there, guiding her still, reminding her of the joy they shared. Not the past shrouded in shadows, but the love that illuminated their moments together. He spoke of dreams and aspirations, of times he felt he failed, but always came back to how deeply he cherished her. Life is complicated, he wrote, but my love for you was pure and unwavering, even when I wavered. Sarah felt the pieces of her heart knit back together with each word. I made choices that you might never understand, choices filled with hurt and longing. But know this. My love for you will always surpass any mistake. Clara's tear-streaked face reflected the same emotions Sarah felt. Heartache, understanding, and connection. Here was truth, raw and unfiltered. A legacy from a father she thought she knew, but now glimpsed more of the man behind the mask. Several heartbeats passed as Sarah wiped her tears, processing the weight of the moment. What can I do with this? She asked, voice trembling with the enormity of what lay before her. You honor him by embracing all of him, Clara said softly, her voice a grounding force. It's okay to feel hurt, anger, disappointment, but don't let that overshadow the love he had for you. You have every right to grieve, too, for the man he could have been. I want to bridge the gap between our past and present, Sarah said, a newfound resolve building within her. The layers of anger and confusion she felt toward her father were melting away, as she recognized he was human. He had dreams just like her. He had regrets and triumphs. Clara, what do I do next? How can I integrate this into my life without losing who I am? Clara smiled gently. Start by understanding that you're weaving your own narrative, filled with threads of love, complexity, and healing. This doesn't diminish your family's value. It adds richness to it. Sarah tilted her head, letting the words sink in. You're right. I can allow this to coexist, to hold space for my father's shortcomings and the love we shared. The room buzzed with the energy of hope and transformation. Sarah thought about Mark, about how she would share her journey with him. They had already begun to mend their rift. Wouldn't this help them to heal even further? As she looked at Clara, she realized this connection was not just about uncovering her father's past. It was about building bridges with Mark, carrying their family's stories with love and compassion, and moving forward together. A thought emerged, brighter than the sun flooding through the window. I want us to meet, she said, determination radiating through her voice. Will you let me introduce you to my husband? He deserves to know what you've shared with me, too. Clara hesitated, understanding the weight of Sarah's request. Are you sure? It could alter everything. Relationships evolve with every new truth. I understand, but it's time we embrace the complexity of our legacies as a family. You and I share this. I won't walk this journey alone. As Clara nodded, a smile crept onto her lips. It was born from the bond they were forging. Everything felt possible now. Every fear about losing pieces of her family fading as they stood together, united by tears of understanding. We'll face it together, Clara promised, her hand reaching out to grasp Sarah's. The feeling of love wrapped around them, binding their histories and futures into one. They shared a moment of silence, gratitude lingering in the air like the scent of fresh cookies lingering throughout the home. As Sarah left Clara's house, hand in hand with her new truth, she called Mark, her heart racing with excitement. You won't believe the incredible discoveries I made today. I want you to meet someone. With each passing moment, the world outside her window transformed into possibilities. The sunlight brighter, the road wider, and her heart fuller. And just like that, she knew that love wasn't just in the past. It awaited her in the present, reaching out, bridging the gaps, waiting to be nurtured, shared, and celebrated. As the chapters of her story unraveled before her, Sarah felt a surge of hope. It wasn't just about discovering her father's secrets. It was about redefining her future. A future where love bloomed, despite the shadows of history. Don't wait, not even one more second. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Your reaction means the world, so comment your thoughts and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of love and understanding. This is the moment to rally around our community.